everybody, can you hear me now? This is Torah in the time of COVID-19. This is the Jew Curious Show, brought to you by toilet paper and hand sanitizer and all those things. I'm sorry to be joking about this, but you know what? We're going to have some time for some jokes because I think everybody could use a breather from the seriousness, but we'll also address the seriousness today. So this is the Jew Curious Show. Sorry to be rambling a little bit, but it's been kind of a week. This is a place where people who are curious about Judaism, Jews who are curious about anything, and wherever you're coming from, your questions are welcome here. If you are curious about Judaism, Jewish traditions, how Judaism can improve your life and help you weather difficult times, you are in the right place. This is the Jew Curious Show with me, your friendly neighborhood Rabbi John Carrier, and in just a moment I will show my face such as it is, and we can start hanging out, checking in with each other. How are you doing? How has your week been? How are your preparations going? How is your potential self or otherwise quarantine going? So primarily today I just wanted to show up so that we could be together. I don't know how we're going to get through this, but I do know it's going to be together. So thank you for coming to the Jew Curious Show today. We will start in just a minute. I'm having some monitor difficulties, but when aren't I? So with that, let's get on with the show. I'm going to go ahead and show my face. We've lost our musical interlude. Da, 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 da. Where's John? There I am. So nice to see you, everybody. Welcome to the Jew Curious Show. It is I, your friendly neighborhood Rabbi John Carrier. Nice to see you, heroes. Today's show is mostly just about checking in, seeing how you're doing. I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to admit it's been kind of a week. Things are in flux with my family. Everybody's healthy, thank God. But you never know when. My wife's going to go on work from home status. I'm going to go on work from home status. My kids are going to go on school from home status. Everybody's dealing with this right now around the country, and in Los Angeles recently, we had our Governor Gavin Newsom went on the radio yesterday and was talking about recommendations for not having any kind of gathering over 250 people. The LA County Department of Health came out and said, make that 50. LA is a much more densely populated and diverse area, so that their recommendations was no gatherings over 50 people. The synagogue that I'm responsible for, Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center, this has just really taken over our week for all the right reasons. Last week we were thinking, okay, well, let's kind of monitor the situation. The beginning of this week we're like, let's focus entirely on this situation. All day Monday, all day Tuesday, Wednesday was kind of clergy's day off, and yet we're still, blocking and tackling. Yesterday we spent developing some recommendations to our board of directors. Last night we had an emergency meeting of the executive committee. If you are watching this and you're part of the PJTC community and you wonder what's going on, are there going to be any changes at PJTC? That, like I said, we had a meeting last night. That communication is imminent. There are many people involved in those decisions. Many people taking a look at the document to make sure we communicate exactly how we want to proceed. So there's a little misunderstanding as possible. I don't want to spoil any of it because they're still working on the communication. Just know that we are here for you. We are there to continue to meet the needs of all the people in our community, whether personally or virtually. And that's not going to change. Just how we do it has to change out of an abundance of caution, out of concern for the safety of everybody in our community, and also our responsibility to the broader community. How can we not be a place that is responsible for spreading this virus in a way that's bad for people outside of our Jewish community? So all those things are in play, all those considerations are being taken, and everybody there, whether they're lay leader or staff or clergy, are also human beings and parents and spouses and dealing with things in their own family, and as I'm sure are you. So that's what we're talking about today. I'm curious as to see what your response has been. How has it changed your life? How has it changed the learning that you're doing? How has it changed your approach to spirituality, let's say? Are you opting out of going to services or religious gatherings. What questions do you have about the Jewish response to this? Like, what does Judaism say? I always say that, teach in the name of my rabbi, almost no true statement ever started with Judaism says, because Judaism usually on any given question has at least 3 different answers that have popped up somewhere in our tradition. So I'm going to share with you my favorite Torah for this moment, the Torah that I'm teaching in Pasadena, the Torah that we're communicating through our new health and safety protocols. But it all starts with Torah. And so without further ado, I'm going to get into that. Well, maybe a little bit ado. I just want to say hi to some people who are showing up in the chat here. KG Wilcox says, "Hi all, my computer is in Mom's guest room and I arranged to be cleaning in here for this session. Mom also arranged to be cleaning for her family's living room when the Whiz Kids was on the radio, so she had a crush on Joel Cooperman and took exception to his portrayal in Radio Days." Interesting. So, let's see. Nawa64 says, "Shalom, shalom, Nawa64. Triggers and Viv, Boker Tov, and Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's still Shabbos. No matter what happens, it's Friday. It's Friday. Shabbos is coming, so starts tonight." Lemon Lady says, "Shabbat Shalom." Nawa64 says, "Rabbi, video is very pixelated." So, sorry about that. I'm always complaining about technical difficulties. This is kind of a homemade rig we do this on. And it evolves, we've gotten a lot of support and a lot of sponsorship. And so, we're replacing the parts as they need replacing. So, maybe I'll unplug it and plug it back in. So if I look fuzzy, might just be because I haven't shaved this morning. So hold on one second. I'm going to try to stay tuned. I'm going to go offline for a second and come right back online, and hopefully the live stream won't change too much. So let's do this. Are my bars coming in there? So we're doing bit by bit. Let's try the camera. Okay, I don't know if the camera's coming back on yet. Is the camera coming online? Vit Yermalo, it says on YouTube is better quality. Yeah, Vit, just personal shout out. I do owe you an email, buddy. I understand. This week has not been the week that I planned to have. Hold on one sec. Try the video. Let's see if we can't get that running again. This is good radio. Let's see, Arcade Pop webcam. Okay. Unplug that, plug it back in. Let's see, is everyone's health good? State of Washington is a complete mess. I bet it is. Let's see. Looking for a video capture device. Deactivate that. And reactivate that. Come on, come on, come on. And here we are. So hopefully that works a little bit better. Having a little trouble with my monitor too. It's the monitor I play my game on is kind of going in and out, but we'll see how this goes. There are worse things that could happen than my monitor going in and out. This is a time of concern. This is a time for stress, and I'm here to do the best I can to help relieve that stress for you, to alleviate some of your concerns, to also be completely authentic that I'm feeling that stress too in ways that I probably haven't quite acknowledged yet. So, but we're all dealing with this together. We're all doing the best we can. So in addition to this online community, I'm responsible for, somewhat, I'm kind of a part-time interim rabbi at a synagogue in Pasadena, and we're all pitching in to help make the right decisions for our community, communicate those decisions. So they're probably wondering where I am. I was up late last night crafting some language for a communication to the community, up early this morning finishing that. Now everybody else is editing it, and so we'll see how this goes. and so I'll jump back on that after I jump on this. But I'm also devoted to this community, so want to make sure you guys are all taking care of or checking in. Triggers and Viv is asking about people's health. Triggers coming in from Washington State, which has been kind of an epicenter, if you will, of activity for the COVID-19 virus. Some people say it was a coronavirus. Is it COVID-19? What's the difference? My understanding is that coronavirus is kind of the genre, or it's a classification for a category of viruses based on sort of the shape. If you take a look at it under a microscope, it looks like the sun, or it looks like a sphere, and that's where the word corona comes from, or a crown. And so, there are other viruses out there that are coronaviruses. So that's why in the news it's been called the novel coronavirus. Not that it's, an avid reader. If it was a reader, I'd write a book called Go Someplace Else. But so a novel coronavirus means this is a new kind of virus of this shape, and we're going to name it COVID-19, whatever the heck that stands for. Probably something long and scientific, and similar to the 18 things that came before it. So that seems to be what's going on. I'm not a public health expert. You will not get up-to-the-date health info here. I'll just report what I've heard and the decisions that I'm making based on that. So got some more people. Sienna51, hello from Portugal. Nice to see you here from Portugal. Curious as to how things are going in Portugal. In America we tend to focus on what's in our own belly button. But yesterday, I'll say, for various reasons, I probably drove about 120 to 130 miles because I live in Los Angeles, and I went to work, which is about 15, 20 miles away. I had to, I got to have lunch with a friend of mine who was on the other side of the San Fernando Valley, and then drove back, and then drove home, and which all that is to say, I listened to the radio a whole lot, and God bless KPCC, a local public radio station that had been going through their fund drive. And I love public radio. I morally support public radio, and I should probably financially support public radio. That would be the right thing to do. But I usually I like living in a place where there are multiple public radio stations, because I'm going to confess I switch off during pledge drive week. It's just that, yeah. So I'm not perfect, but what I am grateful for is they were having great coverage of the governor's speech and various federal authorities' speeches and interviews with experts, and they said that they were going to suspend their fund drive. Every once in a while they say, hey guys, we suspended our fund drive, please send money anyway, but it wasn't like the 20 minutes of spiel. So listening to the radio a lot, got to listen to, Gavin Newsom, our governor here in California, giving his recommendations, got to listen to Terry Gross interview a public health expert, kind of appraising our response to this, and got to listen to the BBC. Sort of the BBC World News report, which kind of took us out of our own American navel to understand how this is playing out across the world. So really interested to see how things are going. Sienna51 says schools and universities are closed and stores are empty, at least on the Capitol, but otherwise going relatively good. That's good to hear. Let's see. Cara Amelia says, I think it's 19 for originating in 2019, so I guess the 2019 strain of this particular virus. So glad all of you are here. Let's see. Nawa64 says, FYI, in addition to Israel closing borders, I just heard the Kotel is now closed. So this I'll say one of the hard things for me is that Jewish community and Jewish custom is all about coming together as a community. And some of the challenges of teaching online has been that digression. We've learned a lot together online. I really feel strong about the strong ties of community that we've built just with this live stream and with the Jew Curious School and with the podcast audience. I really have seen people connect in a very real way. I don't devalue online community just because it's online. Also, in the Jewish community, we place a great premium on gathering together in person, getting together for services, getting together for meals, getting together for holidays, getting together for education and meetings and all sorts of things, serving, feeding one another with our hands sometimes without gloves on, and there's appropriately so lots of hugging and kissing and shaking hands and high fives and bro fists and all those things. And now we've got to reevaluate a lot of things. We've got to figure out how to continue to serve one another, how to meet people's needs, how to answer the call in times of stress and strain and ill health, and God forbid, death is going to be a part of this. And how do we do that in a safe way? And so, and also a Jewish way. So the two bits of Torah that we are sharing, as we're sharing health and safety protocols and things like that with our community, the two bits of Jewish value and Torah that we're teaching, a couple of phrases that come up a few times in the Talmud. One is Pikuach Nefesh Doche Shabbat. And this is just kind of a standing legal principle that Pikuach Nefesh, or saving a life or proactive preservation of life, Doche Shabbat, which means sets aside the Sabbath. Meaning specifically, there are lots of rules to traditional Jewish observance of Sabbath, but if you have to break one of those rules to save a human life, you should absolutely break those rules, right? It sort of sets aside, it sort of puts a little bubble around you and your life saving, where Shabbat is kind of pushed out of that bubble, at least the restrictions and things like that. But this is just one example. In fact, just about every Jewish principle, law, custom, etc., can be set aside temporarily when it, for the sake of saving a human life. And and I say almost all of them. You'd be like, hey, that's not fair. It should be all of them. But there are a couple of really critical ones that we are called on to sacrifice life rather than, ours or someone else's, rather than broach those things, including idolatry. If somebody says, you have to worship this weird demon or something, or else I'll kill you, you're like, I'm not worshiping the demon. Sorry, pal. Decision's yours. You are not allowed to take another person's life in order to save your own life. Or if somebody says, okay, if you take this person's life, then you save this person's life. We're not allowed to make the decision on that basis. And also sexual violence. Like, we're not allowed, if somebody says, you have to rape this person or I'll kill you, you're supposed to sacrifice your life rather than have that happen. Those are sort of situations of idolatry and sexual violence and murder that would make the life that you're saving almost, feel not worth living. And so I just wanted to teach that in the context, because you might hear a lot of sources saying, saving a life sets aside the whole Torah. It's not exactly the whole Torah, but like, aside from these things, everything else, which is the basis of many Jewish organizations, many very seriously traditionally religious organizations, setting aside things that we take for granted, like kissing the mezuzah. Like when you walk into through a Jewish doorway and there's a mezuzah, you kiss the mezuzah, and then the next guy kisses the mezuzah, puts his fingers on the place where you put your fingers with your saliva and all that stuff. There's actually a pretty humorous YouTube video about this, about everybody's kissing the mezuzah, and this one guy doesn't kiss the mezuzah, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I missed that session on kissing the mezuzah because I was at my doctor being assessed for a contagious disease. And they're like, why'd you do that? So things like kissing the mezuzah, things like if you go to a Shabbat service, they take the Torah scroll out and they walk around, and people will hug the Torah scroll, or touch the Torah scroll, or kiss the Torah scroll. And now we're just going to sort of show the Torah scroll. The other things like that. Sometimes you go into a synagogue and there might be a bin of kippot. Those are the head coverings, or the talitot, the prayer shawls. In case you forgot yours or you don't have one, we'll provide a kippah for you. There's a prayer shawl for your use. And so a lot of synagogues, including ours, are sort of setting that aside for right now. Please bring your own. We might provide some disposable head coverings that you could use. Please bring your own talit. If you don't bring a talit, don't worry. If you need to buy one or something, we'll hook you up. But so just things that are normal parts of Jewish communal life, we are setting aside, not because we don't care about them, but because this moment of necessity for proactively preserving life calls on us. I always like to say, especially when it comes to like Jewish philosophy or moral decision making, the tough decision between the deciding between good and evil is not a hard decision, right? If you know something's good and you know something's evil, it might be hard to choose the right thing, but the choice itself isn't hard, right? It's a clear distinction. What really is difficult, what really is, for me, the most interesting questions are when you have to choose between two goods, right? Shabbat is a good thing. We need it. We need that rest. That might be our self-quarantine for the week, right? And we need that. So Shabbat is a good thing. Saving a life is a good thing, right? And so when those two good things come in conflict with each other, how do we make that decision? And the Jewish tradition has given us some clear guidance on this. So you probably hear about a lot of synagogues that are either curtailing their activities, going to kind of a services only mode and canceling all sorts of classes and meetings and things. I've been getting messages from synagogues that are just plain shutting down for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I got an email from a kind of a group of different Orthodox synagogues here in Los Angeles, like 5 or 6, synagogues signed on to this saying, guys, we love you. We are shutting down for 2 weeks. No services, no nothing. We're just locking the doors. And we encourage you to pray at home. We encourage you to learn Torah at home. This is what we are doing out of an abundance of caution so that, A, we can help you keep you safe, that we won't be responsible for further spreading this virus. And we're doing, and these are people who go to the synagogue every single day, 2 or 3 times a day, as a part of their religious practice. And they're saying the preservation of life supersedes these requirements. You can pray at home. You can learn at home. We miss you and we'll see you soon, but this is what we have to do right now. So that's one value, is pikuach nefesh, saving a life, supersedes almost everything else. Now, for the most part, we're not saving, like most of our day-to-day, unless you're a doctor or an EMT or something like that, you're not in the day-to-day life-saving business. So you get to go about your business, you get to do your praying, you get to do your gathering and all those things. So so this doesn't come into play, but when it does, we have to take it seriously. So that's one value, is pikuach nefesh. There's another one that I want to share, but I just want to check the live stream chat real quick, see what's going on over on the YouTube arena. Oh, good, that's such a better font size. Let's see, so we get some hi rabbis in here, Trigby's much better, good. Let's see, schools and university are closed in Portugal. That's good to know. Great video on YouTube. FYI, additional, Israel has closed its borders. Israel went on kind of full quarantine for 2 weeks. And this is something that our cantor, who just came back from Israel right before the quarantine, said was happening, and kind of informed a lot of what we're doing. But Israel is a very different country, just in culture. It's a young country, it's a small country, it's a country with compulsory military service, where you have a different sense of connectedness among all citizens. Not every single citizen serves in the army, there are certain exceptions, but most people have served in the military for at least some stint. So you have a different kind of esprit de corps there within a small population. And you have a population that's accustomed to having bombs dropped on it, right? Most synagogues that I davened in when I was there are either bomb shelters or built to be retrofitted to be as strong as bomb shelters. So when there's a general announcement for people to take a certain precautionary behavior, that's just built into the nervous system there. And so people just do what's right for their neighbors and for each other. America being a much more spread out and diverse place, you don't have that same kind of responsiveness and sense of responsibility as you do in Israel. Just reporting, not endorsing, but that's kind of what's going on. Let's see, the Kotel is closed. That's got to be for the best. Kotel is a huge, Kotel is a holy place. I've probably described in other contexts my personal relationship and experience at the Kotel. It is the spiritual, I'll say it's just a place that is like a center of gravity for my heart here in this earth. And I think it's really wise that they're shutting it down for right now, because it's also a huge tourist draw, and people coming from all over the world go there and pack in tightly together to fit in, and people are kissing the wall or kissing their hand and touching the wall, and It's for the best that they are shutting that down for right now. Let's see. Kara Umley says my shul is having online services, even though we generally don't encourage streaming on Shabbat. Again, this is a game changer. A lot of places, or rather, a game temporary changer. You know, the Rabbinical Assembly. This is the body of conservative rabbis that I'm a part of. Sent out a message last week saying, you know, you should. Sorry, I got stuck there for a second. A little blip in my brain. I'm kind of pixelated. The Rabbinical Assembly sent out a message saying, you know, we're still kind of, you know, the jury's still out, as it were, on live streaming. Some synagogues are doing it, some are not. Our law committee hasn't issued any sort of informed rulings on this. But if you've got the streaming stuff in place, please take advantage of it, is what they're saying. Again, this is pikuach nefesh. This is an abundance of caution. If you have the ability to live stream your services and people couldn't pray with their community otherwise, please take advantage of that. And that's one thing that we're saying to our folks is like, you know, we've made the decision where, I mean, we over the last year or so have been implementing live streaming in various services and events. We put it as an offering for our families celebrating bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, so that distant relatives can see what's going on. And now we decided that from now on, or at least for the time being, every single service is going to be live streamed. That's something that we're providing to our members who want to connect, but are cautious about being present. So we're doing that as well. Some people have asked me about how to do that. I don't exactly know. So, but what I will say is, go to the PJTC website if you're curious about seeing our services on Friday night or Saturday morning. Reach out to somebody there. The phones are ringing off the hook, people. PJTC today probably, but look at the website. There might be some information on how to access our service live stream, or you can email somebody or call on the phone and see how to get connected to that. So. Yeah, let's see. People in the Netherlands are finally getting the message and staying in. University. This is Esther de Velde is chiming in. People in the Netherlands are finally getting the message and staying in. Universities are closed. Some high/elementary schools. Everyone is buying a lot of food. My goodness. That's happening here too. I'll get to that in a little bit. I just want to say, Esther de Velde, I don't think panic has broken out. People are just taking appropriate precautions. I think that's the good way of looking at it. What does it say? I'm having trouble reading the Hebrew font here. Is that New Vasist New Vasist like what is it? So what's a Jew to do? Victor Malowitz. Well, here it's the same as Netherlands. However, you won't buy even a soap. All gone. Yeah, I thought of that. Trig says I thought of that. Ick, gross. No soap. Esther DeVelde, I'm especially glad now that my D&D game is online. This is a time that's going to challenge us in ways that's going to help us grow. Like, what are things that you didn't think you could do online that now it's pretty clear you can do them online? So let's see. My Hebrew teacher was in the Israeli army, so probably can fill you in on the culture there. Esther DeVelde, my dad. Yeah, mostly here, Tennessee. Carrie Webb says in Tennessee, most have closed until further notice. My dad Esther DeVelde says, my dad works in infection prevention, so he can't travel at all to keep the virus out of the hospital at all costs. Let's see. Michael Pacheco, nice to see you, Michael. Any advice for those that may end up doing a Seder for one? One of my shuls has canceled their Seder. My other shul is considering canceling, making me sad. Why does it make you sad? It's for a good cause, health and safety first. I'll just jump in on this. You can do the right thing and still be sad about it. And I just want to give permission for Michael to be sad here, because I mean that's part of what I'm dealing with personally, is things that I love about Jewish community gathering and especially eating. We're making the move to again. Well, I don't want to talk too much about what our stuff is doing because that messaging is still coming out. But it's really made us reevaluate kind of our food safety protocols and things like that. So there's going to be things that aren't going to be available for a while. That makes me sad. It also challenges me to get serious about what is most important. And you can be sad. It's just like it's like the teaching on courage. Like, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and acting sort of in spite of it, if you will, or doing the right thing even though you're afraid. So I'll say the same thing about sadness. Like you can feel sad about something and still proceed. As Victor Malowitz says, Michael, good wine should help. I think that's maybe that's a guide that I could come out with and just share it with people. Is how to do a seder for one. We have a little bit of time before Pesach. Right now I would love to be teaching about Pesach, but instead we're teaching about plagues and stuff. So that's a good idea. Maybe a seder for one siddur, or maybe how to host a virtual seder. I'm picturing a big table with all sorts of like monitored like TV screens wrapped up. Although it would look more like a Zoom room. How to maybe bling out your Zoom live stream so it's got like Pesach decorations around it, like those kind of Instagram filters. Lemon Lady, a lady says for the D&D player, Roll20 is a great site for online games. Let's see. Glad to see Kara Amelie says, glad to see you're doing well. Going to leave to preserve my mental health. Thanks for keeping on, Rabbi. Of course, I understand. Let's see. But your mom, my recommendation still stands. I see it's unfortunate for sure. Michael, Melon Monte says, Michael, I'm self-quarantined because I have the flu, plus my hubby is working tonight, so I'll be alone, planning to watch Shabbat services online. Natalie Allison on YouTube says, yeah, pretty sad over here too. Major post-moment of plans, everything in God's perfect plan and in timing, or as the Yiddish version of that is man tracht, Mensch tracht und Gott lacht, like the man plans and God laughs. Susan Bird says, I bet someone will step up and stream some kind of Seder event for everyone unable to participate in person. And so I have almost perfect faith that will be true. So let's see. What I want to do now, that's right, there was another piece of Torah I wanted to teach. So this is a place, I think it appears in the second Shvuot. It appears a couple places in the Talmud, and gives the moral of a couple of different stories as such. Kol Yisrael Aravim Zebazeh. Different, what's the word, prepositional particles. Sometimes it says Zebazeh, sometimes it says Zelazeh. I think grammatically correct is Zelazeh in modern Hebrew, but in the Talmud it's Zebazeh. Means everybody is responsible for everybody else. And that sounds like a tall order. that sounds overwhelming. That sounds exhausting, frankly. But it's also sort of the Talmudic version of we're all in this together. And I think it's while not everybody is, has to solve everybody else's problems all the time, and not everybody has to solve your problems. A lot of those you have to do yourself, pal. But on some level, each of us is responsible for everyone else. And that, coupled with the idea that proactive preservation of life is primary above 99.9% of mitzvot in the Torah and Jewish customs, that preserving of life, the responsibility for that falls on each of us. Whether that means, you don't have to go to medical school necessarily right now, and by the time you finish, there'll be like 3 other viruses to deal with. But you have, each one of us has a kind of responsibility in this moment. And sometimes that responsibility may be, I'm going to take 1 jar of hand sanitizer. I don't know if it comes in jars. maybe moonshine hand sanitizer. I'm going to take 1 bottle, or just enough for my family, and leave some for somebody else. Or maybe that responsibility is, I teach a class in person. I'm going to learn how to use Zoom or Skype or some other tool so that I can now teach that to people who, I can continue to teach people who don't want to be in large or small social gatherings right now. That's one thing that we're working on at my temple. And I tell you what, there's a couple of things which I am not sorry for spending time doing. One is spending the last, let's say, 18 months or so, going on 2 years, well, actually 6 years going back YouTube. I am not sorry about spending a ton of time learning how to teach Torah online, learning how to get together with people, learning how to build community online. That's really going to be coming in handy for me and for my communities, I guess I should say, coming up in this time. So that this is kind of dark, but I got to be real here. That and spending a lot of time watching movies about apocalypses. So if you've known me for a while, you know I love scary movies, zombie movies especially. And look, I should have prefaced an asterisk this whole broadcast saying, yes, there will be jokes. Yes, there will be some levity. I've seen people get dinged, like rabbis, looking for just to lighten the mood a little bit, and then people come back and say, Rabbi, why aren't you more serious about this? Don't you take my health seriously? And of course, I take everybody's health very seriously. I take this situation very seriously. And while we're together, we need to play a little bit. We need to relieve some of that tension. We need to let those laughs out. And so I'm not ashamed to share with you that I am a horror movie aficionado. Certain things, I don't like watching kids get hurt. I don't like any of those like torture porn movies like Saw or Hostel. Just Human Centipede, not really my cup of tea. I prefer suspense, but there's a special place in my heart for like zombie movies, like Night of the Living Dead. I saw at a very young age and kind of informed my tastes. That's sounded weird, but so watching movies play out, what happens in societies under extreme duress. And one thing I admire about the zombie movie genre is that it's almost never about the zombie, right? It's not so much about, okay, there's this scary creature chasing me. It's more about when that kind of thing causes societies to break down. It's a moment for commenting on the structural weakness in those societies that pre-existed. If you look at George Romero's zombie movies, Night of the Living Dead, the sort of the main trilogy, before the other junk that he put out, I'm sorry, just being frank here, but the first trilogy, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, each of those, in the genre of zombies, was talking about different problems in the society at that time. Night of the Living Dead, one of the very first movies that you could see that had an African American actor playing a lead role, and how his experience in the film and in the story was shaped by that. Night of the Living Dead was all about race relations in the U.S. Dawn of the Dead takes place in a shopping mall, all about the plague of American consumerism and economic inequality. It starts off in like a housing project in Pittsburgh and moves to a shopping mall. And so we go from race relations to income inequality and consumerism. Day of the Dead, very much about sort of the triumph of what I don't know, either Hayek or Postman would call scientism. Sort of the unfettered trust in science and technology, especially in the context of the military-industrial complex. But I digress. So I've watched a lot of zombie movies. I've seen a lot of stories where people are playing out scenarios of panic. It doesn't make me feel any more prepared for this, and I don't think we're there. We're not. This isn't a zombie apocalypse, people. So save some toilet paper for the rest of us. But I don't regret all that time watching those movies. Some I regret. Some were just terrible and a waste of time. But so I've watched a lot of movies about the apocalypse. Outbreak just came out on Netflix. Saw that last week. Last night we were watching a movie. Maybe it was written for our family. It's called Carriers, with some actors. I forget that guy's name. He's very handsome. It's called Carriers. It's about a kind of a disease scenario. So in any case, we're all in this together. Kol Yisrael Arvim Zeh B'Zeh. I think that the essence in the translation is, every Jew is responsible for every other Jew. I would like to extend that principle to Earthlings. Let's say Earthlings, all Earthlings. And if somebody else is out there that we haven't heard from yet, now might be the time to raise your hand. We could use a hand, buddy, but I think we're all responsible for each other in that. Sometimes that responsibility is jumping in and leading when people need some leadership. Sometimes that responsibility requires staying the heck home, right? That safest thing you could do for yourself and for everybody else is to isolate yourself, and that's lonely, and that sucks. And we're here for you, right? This is why it's so important, maintaining these online connections. I think that can help people who are isolating right now. So just know I'm going to keep the Fun Fridays going for as long as I can, and we'll be present to share some pain, to share some jokes, and maybe in a second to share a little bit of Zelda. So yeah, Esther DeBell says, let's see. Esther Vell says, yeah, even if you personally won't get badly affected, everyone is a potential link in a chain that could reach someone who will be badly infected. Everybody is responsible for everyone. Natalie Allison, we're so thankful for a wonderful online rabbi, oh that's sweet, that is available virtually for lots of former and lots of other video teachings when otherwise can't attend services. Dorian Alexander, I think it's important to have some levity in this crisis. On Purim, I went to work wearing a Venetian mask and a jester's hat. I guess that's that long, crow. Well, maybe that's not the for some reason I've been seeing ads for those kind of crow face plague masks. I was glad to be able to give some people something to laugh about as long as those alien hands used. Yeah, the aliens should reach out a hand as long as they, wash them first. All right, everybody, really appreciate it here. I wanted to share that Torah of Pikuach Nefesh Doche Shabbat, Pikuach Nefesh Doche almost everything, and the idea that we are all responsible for one another. So if that responsibility involves jumping into helping out in a crisis, if that responsibility involves shopping responsibility, so everybody has a shot at TP, or if it involves pulling yourself back, being okay with letting some things go so that we can weather this crisis, that's your responsibility, and it's our responsibility to take care of you as well. There is a powerful piece of Torah that I learned with one of my B'nai Mitzvah students recently, and I'm trying to remember which parsha it is. Give me a second. It's in Leviticus. It's all jumbling in my head right now. In Leviticus, it talks a lot about uncleanness. I think it's in Tzazria Metzora. In Tzazria Metzora, it's talking about these kind of skin afflictions that might appear and have to get evaluated by a priest, and then people get isolated from the rest of the community for a time. It feels very present. And there's one line in there where it says the person who has this tsarat, this skin affliction, whether it's visible or whether it's hidden, they have a responsibility to go through this settlement, go through their encampment or their town or whatever, and it says they should put their hand over their lip and say, unclean, unclean, and I'm a little unclear on the choreography. When it says you should put your hand to your lip, it could either be like you're making a megaphone, unclean, unclean, everybody, or you could be like, unclean, unclean. Who was that? Did you see who that was? Unclean. And so either you are trumpeting your particular condition, or you are saying, hey, there's somebody present who has this, but I don't have to identify myself. It's like Leviticus version of HIPAA, privacy considerations. And so this 12-year-old and I were debating about this, like, what does this mean? And we took a look at the commentary, and on some hand, and there's this sort of dual responsibility that's going on with this declaration of uncleanness. And on the one hand, the person who has something that is potentially contagious has a responsibility to the community to isolate themselves and to let people know the situation that they're in so that the rest of the community can stay safe. At the same time, the rabbis in the Talmud look at this and say, but the responsibility doesn't end with the affected person. Right? They're saying part of the reason you should let people know what situation you're in is to let other people know their responsibility to pray for you and to heal you and to be there for you and to bring you soup. Right? It's the kind, letting people know the situation that you're in is a kind thing to do for them, for their safety, but it also puts them on the hook in a way that they should be put on the hook to take care of you, whether it's bringing you soup, praying for you, helping you with resources that you don't have access to, and things like that. And then we also looked at a section of the Mishnah in Masechet Midot where it talks about the time when people would bring tithes or bring offerings to the temple during holidays, and it said when you enter the temple courtyard, you come in and then you walk around the courtyard to the right. On the other hand, if there's something going on in your life that might separate you from the community, when you come in, you need to go around to the left. And so you think people in normal circumstances will be walking around this way, people in other circumstances will be walking around this way. And the examples they give is someone who is in mourning or someone who has been excommunicated, right? So these are people who still have an obligation to, show up and make offerings at the temple, but their friends aren't talking to them, and they may have to live outside of town or something like that. And probably because of something they did. don't want to assume they're guilty until they're tried, but they've been shunned, and yet they're showing up for services. And so what the rabbis teach about this is that, it's a good thing, it's a responsible thing to call out when you're going through stuff, because that's when you're walking around the opposite way, everybody knows that you've got something wrong with you, or you've got something going on with you. And so that prompts them to ask when they're circling around, you're going to pass people who are going the other direction, and it's on you to say, hey, what's going on? How are you? How can I help? And it says if they say, I've just lost my parent or a loved one or something like that, then that prompts the people who don't have those surahs, those pain, to say, I'm sorry, and may God comfort you, and comfort as God comforts all mourners. And likewise, if somebody says, hey, what's going on with you? You say, I'm in karet, dude, I'm in chayram, I've been excommunicated. Then that still prompts that person to pray. Right, and there's a mean rabbi who says that you should pray that you come around to your community's point of view, but he's still praying for you, even if he's being kind of a jerk about it. He's still praying for you. And then there's a nicer rabbi who says that person should pray for you that you become more acceptable in your community's eyes. And so whether you want to be generous or less generous about it, even for something that somebody probably did wrong, to get enough to get shunned, by noticing that you're in this situation, we have an obligation to pray for you. It's I'm not a scholar or an expert in Emmanuel Levinas, but my understanding of Levinas, this 20th century Jewish philosopher's approach, was that when you encounter another person, you become in some way responsible for that person. Like when you see someone who's in pain, you then have a responsibility toward alleviating that pain to the extent that you are capable. So, we've got a lot of people ringing off saying Shabbat Shalom, take care everyone. Let's see, we've been going for about 45 minutes now. Natalie Allison, we're so thankful. Okay, thank you. Let's see, as long as there's alien hands use disinfectant. Just catching up a little bit here. Trig B says, take care everyone, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Trig. Cosmic Jerry says, eats lots of garlic. Apparently garlic is a good disinfectant agent. Vityer Malowitz just found on Facebook, Rabbi, what should we give to sick people? Matzah, of course. How will matzah help them with the virus? It won't, but it fits under the door. All right. I said levity was welcome here, and that's pretty clever. Yeah, I saw another commentary that you should buy matzah because, as people who observe Passover know, when you eat lots of matzah, you need less toilet paper because it's like glue for the indoors. Carla J says, thanks, nice to have you here. So yeah, but it fits under the door. I like that. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling a little Zelda. My screen here is kind of wonky this morning, so we'll do what we can. Let's see. Gonna go back over here. Let's put on the gaming stream in game, and I might blow this up because my monitor keeps going in and out here. Put that down. For the DN, so okay, so I'm gonna put on my ear goggles. Can I hear what's going on with the game? Oh, that's right, my ear goggles are plugged into the monitor, which is wonky. All right, so I'm gonna unplug this and plug it back in, see if that helps. Deactivate and reactivate. Okay, that seems to be a little bit more stable. Rivali's flap. All right, so we're playing, I said we might change up games. We're playing a little bit more Zelda today just because it's been kind of a busy week, and it's been more about buying canned goods than new video games, frankly. So let's get into it. We've got a few more memories to recover. I think I found a location where, okay, where am I? I'm sitting in, oh, there's a horse. Hey, horse. I'm gonna like sneak up on that horse. Because why the heck not? He's just there. This looks like somebody's horse too. Is this the giant horse? Wait, just a cotton picking minute. Oh, this is not my account. This is my daughter's account. Hold on just a second. Looks like she was playing this morning before I came on. Okay, so what we're gonna do, go home, yep, change user. Alright, going back to the chat just to see what's going on with folks. But your Malowitz, thanks for that, because it fits under the door. That's clever. I was wondering why that horse was there. Continue the game. Alrighty, so what else is going on with folks? How are you dealing with all of this? What do you, if you're a stocking up kind of person, what do you stock it up on? I'll admit I was a little bit annoyed at like TP fever in the beginning when people buying up toilet paper, and I thought I'm not going to participate in that nonsense. And then I realized we had 5 rolls left. And of the 4 people in my house, 3 are women, and which means we go, I'm not making any judgments. I don't think this is a chauvinistic thing to say. Women go through toilet paper faster than men do. So having 5 rolls left in our house was where with a global, well, at least national or local toilet paper shortage was going to be a problem. So I did spend a good chunk of Wednesday going to different stores looking for some, and bought, I'll say, a reasonable amount. I think, you know, I got 4 packs totaling 40 rolls, which is probably about a 2-week supply. So we'll see how that goes. The thing is, I guess what I feel scared and good about is, if people have been watching this for a while, you know that I've been in kind of a preparedness kick. We had an earthquake, or a series of very small, very mild earthquakes back in July. We weren't here for, you know, in California. If you've been in California your whole life, you know, a little earthquake here and there is, you know, many times is not that big a deal. But we weren't here for Northridge. We haven't felt like one of the big house crackers. But let's see, why am I here? I think I've just been feeding these giant desert monsters, and I'm dressed like a desert woman. So we had a little bit of a shaker, and it gave us pause. And my wife's instinctive response was to load up on some supplies like water and first aid kits. That looks like an interesting place. And things like that. What is it that I'm looking at here? Am I looking at Gerudo Town? Am I looking at some sort of little fortress or something? Sand Seal Rally. No, not really interested in that. I think I'm going to go back over here. So I feel like I saw a bridge that I should visit. Okay. Like up in these hot springs areas. I'm going to go back here. So we started stocking up on a few supplies, like just a couple days supplies of water. And so while my wife was stocking up on things, I decided to stock up on the knowledge. So I took a CERT class, a Community Emergency Response Team class, that taught me a lot about how to be prepared for various bad things that happen, whether it's a major weather event, tornado, earthquake, fire, the latitude earthquakes and fire is much more present here in Southern California than, say, tornadoes. Oh, good, bees. And so terrorist activity, biohazard events, hazmat spills, various biohazard things. And so taking class on that, and that got me interested in taking other classes, like getting involved with a local search and rescue organization that helps out the police, and also taking an emergency medical technician class, because you can do that. Civilians can take those classes. And so just to kind of learn more about first aid and things like that. But as I'm taking this training, I'm getting access to individuals who are first responders, and how do first responders sort of look at the world and look at the city. They deal with kind of crises all the time, and I've noticed that a lot of them are more, let's say, prepared for crises than others. Have a little bit more canned goods in their garage, a little bit more water stockpiled, and things like that. And so I started talking to these folks, and they said, here's how you should be prepared. And especially in the CERT class, one of the mantras of this class is that if anything big happens in your town, earthquake, fire, major health event, God forbid, terrorist activity, all the first responders in town, all the police, fire, paramedics are going to be dealing with that. And if anything goes on in your neighborhood, you're not going to have access, you might not have access to emergency services. So the point of the CERT class is to prepare you to help others. Because it started, I think in the 70s, there was this big fire, and they realized that it sort of overtaxed local resources, and if everybody's fighting this fire over here, nobody can help fight like a residential fire over there. When an earthquake happens and it affects, say, a hospital, the hospital is no longer a safe place to treat people potentially, right? They could be without power, they could be without clean water, they could be structurally unsound, and it could take a week to get a hospital online, which means everybody else who got hurt in that earthquake is a little bit out of luck as far as how to get treated. And so they teach us basic first aid things, and how to set a bone and things like that. So with that, I started actually a few months ago adding to our supply of non-perishable foods. And it's not like I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in LA. It's not like I have a ton of extra storage space, but we do have an ottoman with a little storage thing. And I showed my wife last night. I was like, huh? And it's full of like SpaghettiOs in the cans. Don't be gross. But just starting to stock up on things like that. So this was already something that we were thinking about, something that we were preparing for. And God forbid, like we're stuck at home for, what is all this nonsense? God forbid we're stuck at home for a few days and we can't get out because that's the safe and proper thing to do. We should be prepared for those sorts of things. So that's what we've been doing. I've got a little bit of food set aside. We'll probably get a little bit more, but not go crazy. But that did mean that I spent part of Wednesday at Walmart and at Pavilions, because Walmart didn't have toilet paper, but Pavilions did. And got a few things. Oh, hey, buddy. What's going on here? I didn't see you there. Oh, there's a bunch of you. Whoosh. Okay, now I gotta take care of the head. Boop. And Alaka snap. And kablowie. The problem is you gotta take the head. Whoop. Okay, I should probably be wearing more clothing. Let's see. Stay safe, much love, great Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, your Malowitz, thanks Vit, Malowitz, our daughter is chronically ill, so her bro bought FFP3 mask for her. I had already gone out and gotten a few of those masks, not like, I know people have been raiding the stores, but I just want to make it clear, this was like 2-3 months ago, before we knew that COVID-19 was a thing. I did get a small family supply of N95 masks, just because I know they're good for both, dust you might deal with in an earthquake situation, as well as, tuberculosis and things like that. So what is going on here? I know there's a bridge around here somewhere. There's a story about a bridge. Okay, some fancy trees. But I'm not, I didn't raid this store. I think I got like 3 masks for like a 3-pack of masks for everybody in my family, but not stockpiling like 100 masks. So, yeah, I mean, we're just trying to stock up on the basics. We're sort of mentally preparing for, our things are changing at our synagogue and how we're doing services and things. And my wife works for a company that is in global private aviation, and so there are pilots and things who have been in other countries, and just, I can only imagine. I mean, she doesn't share this stuff with me because that's her work business, but I can only imagine there's there are people who, whether clients of theirs or flight crew, pilots who've been traveling in other countries, and those kind of countries are having travel restrictions now. Let's see. Natalie Allison says Craig Taubman is hosting Shabbat in Spirit on YouTube this evening, 3 p.m. Pacific time. That's cool. So Craig Taubman is a Jewish musician based here in Los Angeles. Oh, great. I'm on top of a mountainside. I'm going to put on my climbing clothes. Maybe that'll help with the fact that it's now raining and I'm on the edge of a cliff over an abyss. I hate those abyss cliffs. Sounds like a band, like Limp Bizkit, Abyss Cliff. Where's my climbing pants? Got the climbing shirt on. Why can't I see it? Climbing pants, here we go. Wish I had a climbing hat. There's gotta be a climbing hat out there. Need me an Alexa. Not an Alexa. You mind your own business. An elixir. Okay. Just have to wait out this rain. Okay then. Where's my bridge? Yeah, if these kids are home from school soon, I imagine there's going to be a little bit more, has he got a bone horse? What's going on over there? Oh, he is, he's riding one of the skeleton horses. I rode one of those one time. Okay, where's that bridge? Am I going the totally wrong direction? Oh, dragon. Okay, there's the bridge. See, what I'm trying to do right now is there is a picture that I'm trying to capture, right? So there's, hold on a second, just going to read this voicemail text here. Dee-dee-dee. So, I'm trying to find this bridge that's got these red mountains in the backdrop and a green tree in the front. And so, there's a bridge. There's some red mountains. So I need to get on the other side of that, kind of to the left there. So maybe the thing to do is to get on that tower. What's the tower that I'm looking at? Oh, is that the bridge? I was just there. Well, let's take a little shortcut here. you're just joining us, this is the Jew Curious Show. We get together on Friday mornings and we talk a little bit about the Torah. We share some news, what's going on in people's lives, how we're dealing with current public health crises, and we play little video games because you got to be able to relax a little bit in times like these. Please don't think by the fact that I joke around and play video games that I don't take what's going on in the world seriously. We're coping with that too. But we're also present for folks who just want to relax a little bit. So wherever you're coming from, whatever's going on with you, you're welcome here. Feel free to ask. What is that? I've never seen that before. I'm going to put a pin in it. Feel free to ask any question about Judaism that you want to. Just let us know where you're at. Let's see. There was a bridge around here somewhere. There's the bridge. There's the mountainous backdrop. Let's do this. Looks like some trees over there that are good candidates. Oh, there's an eagle under me. Probably means I'm being very dangerous. Bridge of Hylia. Something tells me I'm about to run into a whole bunch of monsters like this guy. Sorry, buddy. Bomb in the face. Ouch. Silver scale spear, what's that doing there? Let's see if I can accommodate that in my inventory. Not that powerful. Well, I don't need one of these. Oh, somebody's shooting arrows at me. Oh, there he is. Off the bridge. I should probably switch to regular arrows. Let's see. What's going on with these guys? Apples. Baked apples, because I hit it with a fire sword. Oh, fishing harpoon. Don't mind if I do. Do a little jogging. Keep up Link's cardiovascular fitness at times such as these. Woof. Do a little bit more jogging. Make this go a little bit faster. Glad to see everybody here today. This is that's the challenge. One of the challenges of our moment is that on the one hand we're kind of insisting on social isolation, or what is the word? Social distancing. What a great member of this this community, Kay Dixie, as she often goes by online, shared with me something, a more pleasant, let's say, phrase than social distancing, which is kind of the phrase of the day, is keeping a social distance. Would you mind keeping a social distance? It sounds like something friends do for each other, like, hey, buddy, let's be social. I'm going to keep a social distance. I'm not going to let that social distance go. I'm going to keep it, hold it in my heart. Let's keep social distance rather than social distancing. Go away. I like that. So one way to keep a social distance is to learn together online. Let's see, Jay Brown says, I'm Jew curious and I've been taking Judaism classes since the start of the year. Grateful to be able to join you with this stream. Really glad to have you here, man. Great to see you. Take a look at that album again. This is the vantage point we're looking for. So it's at a tree. It's a little bit far from the bridge in the opposite direction as the mountains. So there's a bridge, there's our mountains. Looks like I'm going, whoop, that's kind of dangerous. This way. Baruch haba means a blessing of welcome on Jay Brown. This looks like a play. Oh, there. You know what? I bet that's that tree. I hot dog, we have a wiener. I bet that's a tree. And we're walking. Right now we're listening to the audiobook of The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien, which someone once suggested that the subtitle to that book should be, and we're walking, and we're walking. Just a lot of walking in that book. Natalie Ellison says, Shabbat Shalom, Matt J. Brown, good to have you here. Hey, Foxy. Oh, look, I'm going to catch some butterflies or dragonflies. Alright, don't want to get caught. Speaking of Twin Towers, I want to the Two Towers. I want to get caught in that river. It looks like it's going pretty fast. At least not without my swimmy swims on. And it's raining too, so I can't climb that mountain. Alright, time for my swimming gear. So I get across that river with maximum haste and minimum, waterfall folly downy. But it's my swim hat, swim pants. Where's my swim shirt? Get my swim dash stamina up. And alaka snap. Get across this water. Yeah, I think Jay Brown, you will find this is one of the friendliest online communities. I'll say it's got to be like the friendliest online community I've ever encountered. I've been hanging around the internet. I remember the first time I saw you, internet. The first time ever I saw the internet. I was in college. I didn't know what an internet was until I was in college. I think it was I was either freshman or sophomore year. I was in my buddy's dorm room, and he's like, "Hey, check out this thing that I found." Well, first off, we were taking an introduction to internet class. Oh, here's the picture. Looking for a little golden spark around here somewhere. It's going to tell us we're standing in the right place for this picture. Starting to look familiar. There it is. Well, before I do the cutscene, tell this quick story. So I think it was sophomore year of college. This would have been 1994, 95. In my buddy's dorm room, we just started taking a class in the computer science department on Introduction to the Internet, and where they asked us to make web pages. So we learned HTML to make those web pages that were all kind of like gray background with blue letters, right? Or a gray background with black text and blue hyperlinks, and that was it. That was what you could do. You could maybe post a picture on there. I made a fan page for what is this, like a novelty rock group. I forget what they were called. But just I made kind of a fan page for this novelty group, and it was a British TV show about punk rockers. It wasn't the Descendants, Outcasts. I forget. But everybody could think it was a 1980s 80s or 90s TV show. The Young Ones. Okay, so I had a Young Ones fan page that I made, but then my friend was showing me, hey, there's this thing I found. It was created by some it's created by some current grad students at Stanford or someplace like that, and you can find things on the internet. Instead of knowing where a thing is and going there, you can just type in what you're looking for, and it'll show you like 10 suggestions about what it might be, and then you can go to that site. And I forget if that was Yahoo or Google. I think it was Yahoo, right? When me and my friend first discovered Yahoo as a search engine. And this was 95. Man, back in the day, I remember the first book I ever bought on Amazon, when Amazon was all that gray background, black text, maybe a picture of the book, maybe. It was Graham and Dodd's Security Analysis. That's what I was into back then. But I couldn't find that in any local bookstore where I live, so I found it online. Graham and Dodd's famous book on security analysis for value investing, because I was an economics major and into finance back then. Now I'm into the opposite of finance. Just kidding. But nobody goes into the rabbi business because you want to get rich. So that's the old internet, kids. Don't know why I started talking about that. But now I've recaptured a memory. What's Link up to? He's practicing swordplay.
I thought this one.
That's Zelda. If you're wondering who this legend is about, that's her. That is she.
Yourself to becoming a knight as well. Your commitment to the training necessary to fulfill your goal is really quite admirable.
I narrate, but she's doing it.
I see now why you would be the chosen one.
Chosen one, that's a heavy responsibility.
What if one day you realized that you just weren't meant to be a fighter? Yet the only thing people ever said was that you were born into a family with the royal guard, and so no matter what you thought, you had to become a knight. If that was the only thing you were ever told. I wonder then, would you have chosen a different path?
Zelda's having an existential crisis. Don't project that business on me, on Link. It's not cool. Put that in your Kindle. Alright, what's all this business? There's a little bit of water right there. There's some monkey men. There's like a little cave. Oh, hey, I wonder if there's a Korok in here. Yeah, you found me! Alright, we're going to play for a few more minutes and I'm going to ring off. I got to check in on some things, run my traps, see how my community's, the physical community's response is going. I know people have been working on that this morning. For 52 Korok seeds. So before I ring, we're going to play a little bit longer, but just in case people have to go, before I ring off, just I want to reiterate this notion of, yes, we've been learning, many of us a lot for a long time, about traditional Jewish practice and customs, and it's a little bit disjointing to learn all that, to maybe start getting involved in Jewish communities, and then everything changes. Or you have this experience of everything changing, right? Things that were normal a month ago are now gone. Things that seem really weird about a way to be practicing Judaism are now the new normal, or at least for right now. And so what I want to give you some reassurance about is that the important stuff doesn't change, right? Since the time of the Talmud, and probably well before, we've always had this essential priority that the preservation of human life, the proactive preservation of human life, pikuach nefesh, supersedes just about everything in our tradition. And so understand that's the moment that we're in. And so as things are changing, it's not that we're choosing something, that we're setting aside other practices as bad. We're choosing among goods. That's our responsibility right now. And also, please understand that, as it says in the Talmud, Kol Yisrael Arvim Zeh B'Zeh, we're all responsible for one another. And part of that responsibility could be keeping a social distance. Wash your hands, yo. That was one of the other phenomena of this moment. Is my favorite meme of this was kind of one of those baby Yoda things with kind of a dirty, giving everybody a dirty look. And it says, realizing, all the hand soap is gone. Like, weren't y'all washing your hands before? Like, why is this a new thing? So, wash your hands, folks. Be respectful of other people's choices about physical contacts. This is something we should have been teaching all along. This has been a year or two, or gosh, should have been our entire lifetimes, but especially in the last couple of years, communities have been more conscious about consent when it comes to touching other people. That's one of the things that's been kind of crowded out in the news lately, is this guy who was not good about consent and touching other people is going to prison for a very, very long time, and some people wish it was longer. But places, synagogues, holy gatherings of all sorts, social gatherings of all sorts, we feel like the cool thing to do is hug and shake hands. We should be respectful when people say, you know what, I'm not a hugger or I'm not a handshaker. That should have been true anyway. I'm not judging anybody. People are just huggers and they do it out of love. But always be respectful of how other people want their bodies treated. Especially now, if somebody who you've been hugging for years says, I can't hug, just not on the menu right now. Just understand it's not personal. It's not you. And if you're in a social situation where you don't want to shake hands or you don't want to hug, do not be shy about letting people know. And I think more than usually, people will be respectful of that. So let's take advantage of this moment. things are going to feel different, but just know that it's out of a sense of mutual responsibility that we take on this change. And I really believe this is the silver lining for me, and I've just been talking about this with leaders at my synagogue. This is uncomfortable, and it's going to help us grow, right? We are going to have more online opportunities. We're going to have more experience with having meetings online. You know, when trying to get together with synagogue communities is hard enough when everybody's got, you know, kids with activities and personal activities, and now we're going to have a new way, we're going to figure out new ways to meet with each other. We're going to figure out new ways to learn and to lead and to teach and to stay in touch with people. Maybe this is going to prompt us to get in touch with members of the synagogue we haven't talked to in years. So see this as an opportunity for growth. Stay safe, everybody. Be responsible, and just know that, you know, I can't tell you when this change time is going to end. I can tell you that the best way to get through it is together. So I really appreciate everybody who showed up to be with each other today, to share your questions, to share your stories, to share your concerns, to be real with me. And for that you have my unending gratitude. So let's play a little bit more of the Zelda, and then we are going to call it a fun Friday. So there's a little cave right there. All right, I got another picture. One of the pictures do I have to go? Let's go over here to the album. Natalie Allison says, Shabbat Shalom, y'all. Okay, so got that one. Now, here's another vista of Hyrule Castle from a tree. Nope, nothing magnet. That looks like an interesting little situation down there. Maybe with some buried treasures. Let's see, what am I looking at? Looking at like this little Daya village ruins, all sorts of little link ruins. It looks like a flooded town, which means there's probably treasure. To go like 2 words, Hasidic cowboy. I'm a fan.
Now ready to roll.
Something over there. Oh, there's some metal. Might be a chest. It's a book series, Hasidic Cowboy. Check that out. Is that related to the Fresno Kid? Or Frisco Kid? Fresno Kid. The Frisco Kid, that delightful comedy. A phrenic bow. Concentrating before drawing the string will allow you to target distant enemies as easily as those close by. Huh, interesting. Well, I'm gonna dump something if I can have a phrenic bow. Let's see, Great Eagle Bow is almost busted. Ancient Bow, played a lot for that. Knight's Bow, Royal Bow, 2 Royal Bows. Got a quick shot, durability up. I'm gonna dump this one. Get a Phrenic Bow, the Mensch with no name. Oh, there's another one. Oh, hello. What if I take that and put it in the hole? I thought that might happen. A wooden bow. Anything else in the neighborhood? If you're not familiar with this game, I'm using my magnetic powers to, oh, what's in there? A bunch of snails, apparently. Extra sneaky. Huh. What is that? Tobio's Hollow. This looks like an area that I haven't spent a lot of time in. It's one of the fun things about this game is just straight up exploring. It's got this massive world. Let's see, K. Dixie joining late, forgot to reset an alarm for new time. I understand that. Okay. When did that happen? How do I even beat that guy? Okay. Oh, and me without a sledgehammer. This would help if I had a sledgehammer. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Something tells me I'm supposed to hit him with that well thing. I dropped a metal rock on you. Yeah, that's not working. Let's see, I think I'm just going to pick the direction I want to go in and run as fast as possible. The Twitch broadcast stopped, so I'm on YT for now. Yeah, is Twitch getting hinky? Are more people going home and playing video games, and Twitch is getting its bandwidth tested? Come on, Stone Tallis. I'll show you a Tallis. Oh, hey. Oh, there's a guy. And the tum-tum. Oh, good. The blood moon's coming out. Looks like a very, very big old hollow tree. There's some goodies in there. Not have time for another Korok. Oh, and that guy. These guys are never cool. Also hard to hit with an arrow. Oh no, Blood Moon is happening. All the bad guys are respawning. Yeah. If anybody has some Concernicus that I'm fiddling while Rome burns, I try not to be too insecure about that sort of stuff. I will say that we've spent a pretty solid week preparing for things in my community, and was up late last night, early this morning, crafting synagogue policy and communications, and I feel kind of okay with taking a break to play video games and talk to my friends. So, but I'll you know, I don't worry about that thing. But I would say be careful how you judge other folks who may be dealing with this moment differently. just because I saw there was a rabbi who, I don't want to name names because I don't want to embarrass anybody in public, but I saw there was a rabbi who had said, hey, send me some funny memes because right now it's really serious and I could use a laugh. And apparently people hassled him. They're like, Rabbi, you're not taking this seriously. So I just want to say on my brother's behalf, we can take this as seriously as a heart attack, and just about everybody I know is, but we also have to laugh a little bit and have a good time, play some games together, because there will be time for focused seriousness, and sometimes the best self-care is being able to take a step back from it, take a step back from the seriousness, have a little fun. I can imagine that within the next couple of days I'll get an announcement that my kid's school is canceled indefinitely, which will have the dual joys of having the kids at home while we're trying to get our jobs done and serve our own communities. Oh, apparently my thing broke. Oop, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Keep playing. I need a sword. What do you need? A good sword. Maybe I'll spear the guy. And I get spear his noodle too. Oh hey, eyeball. So now I go into the forest. Oh, I see what's going on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Key swing. That's not how that works. 1, 5. KG Wilcox coming in from the East Coast says all schools in our county closed today. I think we're almost there. We got where we are. We got a message from the principal yesterday, earlier in the day, saying school's still on, still got to bring kids, and if they don't come, they need a note. And then late last night, we got a letter from an email from old internet, a note from the superintendent saying that he's been in touch with the governor's office, asking the governor to, I don't know if he needs like permission or something to close schools, how that works. But our schools will probably be closing pretty soon. Our kids will still need to learn stuff, which means they'll probably help us out with online resources and curricula. And then we'll be homeschooling our kids while trying to do our jobs, possibly remotely. And that'll be a fun thing. That's a bunch of sneaky snails. Good time to order a few family-friendly board games. We actually kind of got that in spades. We're doing it less lately, just because of time constraints and whatnot. Not time. What am I saying? Time constraints. Energy constraints. We have a fair number of family-friendly board games that we sometimes pull out on Shabbat. Settlers of Catan, anyone? Some people say Monopoly isn't Shabbos-tic, but I'm good for a Shabbos Monopoly game. When the heck else do you have time to play a full game of Monopoly? Scrabble. I had this debate with somebody that said, which is a more Shabbos-tic board game, Scrabble or Monopoly? Where he says, well, Monopoly, it's all about business and spending money, so of course that's not good for Shabbos. To which I would argue, like, you can play Monopoly without keeping score, right? Scrabble, you got to write down the letters. By the way, you're writing stuff when you're making those words. And he says, no, first off, you're just putting letters together, you're not actually writing. And second off, he taught me this trick for keeping score in Scrabble if you want to observe Shabbat by not writing things. He says you get a long book that has at least as many pages as your high Scrabble score, and as you get points, you add up your points, and then you put a bookmark on that page number. So you say, oh, if you have 271 points, you just put your bookmark on page 271. So I thought that was a neat trick. But you don't have a snail's pace race game. No, I do not. What is this? This looks new. In the forest, in the forest, in the forest. So, Exploding Kittens, that's a fun game. Made by, I forget the name of the artist, but he does the oatmeal. This looks like a place I haven't been before and discovered a lot of shrines. What is this? Usually at mountain peaks you can find cool things. Farosh Hills. I wonder. Oh, seems to be some structures in here. Alright, this looks kind of serious. Oh, hey, what's up, buddy? In the face. Uh-oh. Guy's shooting electric stuff. This is Lysiphos Temple. I'm going to change arrows to something less icy. Maybe regular style. One shot. Giggity. So yeah, folks, it's probably time to stock up on some board games, a moderate amount of toilet paper. You know, I remember reading someplace, and this is, do not take medical advice from me, but I do remember reading one place that like regular soap for hand washing does just about as much as antibacterial soap if you wash your hands thoroughly. So feel free to take advantage of that. I think I am going to put on my electricity suit for these guys. And I do have one. Don't get to wear my rubber pants very often. And I've got a fish face. Stop that. Gotta be some electric arrows around here somewhere. Get a spicy pepper. Ruthie Honey says, I don't know what I'll do, I'll have to work. So many of them. People got to work. Folks got to work. Thanks all these guys shooting electric arrows. There might be some electric arrows lying around here. Okay, interesting. This looks like a structure of some sort, which means there's probably an entrance and treasure inside. One would hope. Okay, I may save this exploration. Oh, no, that's bow. I think I'm going to save this for another time. This has been really, I'll say, therapeutic for me, everybody. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate everybody coming in. Ruthie and Kathy, high-fiving here. I'm sure my kids will be off soon. I worry about the kids who won't get to school meals, the parents who won't get time off to care for them. Dorian says, my family has dozens of those. K-Dixie, a side effect of having 7 brothers and sisters. I guess maybe, I don't know if he's talking about antibodies or board games here. Bet you, let's see. And Ruthie Honey is sharing, I don't know what I'll do if the kids got off school. I have to work. It's a situation a lot of us are in. And what is that? It's a giant lizard face. So I just want to say, let's hang in there. Let's hang in there together. People are probably tired of me saying this around my temple and maybe even here. I do not know how we're going to get through this, but I do know that it's going to be together. If we get through this, it's going to be because not because we isolated totally. You know, practice keeping a safe social distance, but there's lots of ways that we can continue to check in with each other and be there for each other. Among communities, I have great trust in this one to do the things that need to be done. And just really appreciate having you in my lives, and glad we can kind of share our, oh, look at that. I'm glad we can kind of share our concerns with one another here. And keep asking us questions. We will be here next Friday, God willing, and continuing our activities in this holy community. It's hard to talk and kick butt at the same time, but it's worthwhile. So, before I face this guy, just let me say thank you all for being here. I'm excited to learn with you as ever. And until next time, hero, peace. He says as he walks. Pretending this guy is didn't wash his hands.